Hi, my name is Ronnie Chester, and I'm a Parks and Recreation Management major here at NAU, and I'm in my final semester. I couldn't be more excited about that as I will be the first male in my family and the third overall person in my family to graduate from a four-year university. The topic for today is African Americans in baseball. I will more so be discussing five major reasons for the decline in the participation amongst African American ball players. I myself am an African American ball player, and I always wondered why I don't see more blacks playing the sport of baseball or even showing a slight interest in baseball. A little bit about myself. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I currently live on the south side of Chicago, just in a better environment than the one I grew up in. As kids, we used to play the game called Strike 'em Out. Strike 'em Out is a fun baseball type of game where you would have one batter and three pitchers, one, two, or three pitchers, depending on the amount of people you have. And the object of the game was to strike the batter out. The first pitcher who strikes the batter out will get a chance to bat. And if the batter doesn't strike out, the batter continues to bat, pretty much. So he can bat. When I used to play, sometimes I didn't give up the bat for at least like 40 minutes. 40 minutes was my high top, not giving up the bat. I love this game. I still play it. I teach my kids at the park district how to play it, and they love it. It's just we try to get more kids involved with it so they can enjoy it as well. I don't see that many kids playing ball anymore, and it kind of surprised me because I loved baseball growing up, and I loved it so much that sometimes I used to sleep in my uniform, sleep in my full uniform. That includes like the jersey, the hat, the socks, the belt, the pants. Sometimes I used to have my glove and my bat and my helmet next to me also. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947 to become the first African American baseball player to play in the major leagues. In fact, Major League Baseball will be celebrating that anniversary tomorrow, April 15th, as they do every year. Every Major League Baseball team and player is required to wear Jackie Robinson's number 42 on their jersey. Since Jackie broke the color barrier, Major League Baseball has seen a slight surge in the numbers of African American ball players. That surge has grown as high as 19% in 1986, but in recent numbers, the percentage is down to only 8.5% of ball players in the major leagues are African Americans. The question is what caused the decline in the numbers of African American participants? Like, what happened that stopped black ball players from playing or even getting to the major leagues? Well, I did a recent survey and I got some answers. I did a survey and interview of current and former ball players that played, either little league or some type of semi-pro ball, and I came up with five major factors that I think contributes to the decline in African American participation. Those factors include: number one, baseball is boring. Number two, baseball is believed to be a white person sport. Number three, baseball is very expensive. Number four, baseball players have a low tolerance for failure. Number five, a baseball scholarship is very hard to get. More so, a full baseball scholarship is very hard to get. Let's discuss these factors so we can get a better understanding. The first factor we will discuss is baseball is boring. When I asked one of my former ball players named Darwin Richardson why he finds baseball to be boring, he gave me three reasons. The first reason was because there's too much standing around. I can kind of agree with that because as an outfielder, and that's my position, I play center field, but I can play all three of the outfield positions. As an outfielder, you pretty much just stand there. And sometimes if a ball is not hit to you, you continue to stand there. And most of the action, you won't see any action until like a batter hits the ball, and if an infielder misses it, you come in and you back the infielder up and you get that ball. But most of the time, yes, you are standing around, not doing much, and sometimes, guys count sheep. As we used to say, that's what we used to do in Little League. We used to count sheep and just used to want to hurry up and get off the field. His second reason is because the games are too long. Baseball games average is around 2 hours and 40 minutes, or maybe 3 hours for most games. But like you said earlier, like if you're just standing around, then time can fly by, or time can slowly go by, and before you know it, the game could reach 3 hours and 20 minutes, or 3 hours and 50, or even 4 hours sometime if there's extra innings. His third reason he feels baseball is boring because there's not enough excitement in the games. Baseball is currently under some scrutiny because some of the younger players, feel that baseball needs a kind of a spice, and, they like to flip the bat. They like to, pimp the home runs and things like that. But older veterans, they like to go with the traditional way of playing a game in like a cool, calm, laid back atmosphere. But the baby boomers, they want to see, more excitement. They want to see, like cool stuff happening. So, I'm more of an old-fashioned guy, so I'm kind of on the fence of it. I like the game to be played, simple way and nice, and but maybe I'll have a change of heart if I go, catch a game or something like that. As we move to the second major factor of why blacks are on a decline from participating in baseball is because they believe baseball is considered a white person sport. I want you to take a look at the 3 photos that I have here. And can you tell me, like, what do you see in each photo? Well, the first photo, you see a baseball team. The second photo is a basketball team. And the third is a football team. Do you notice any difference in any of the photos? Well, the basketball and the football team have mixed population, whereas the baseball team is all white. I could have picked different photos, but for the sake of this assignment and for the sake of how some African American kids may see it, I chose these photos in particular because a lot of teams may not have any African Americans on it, especially baseball, from my personal experience. Another thing is baseball is not as popular in the inner city communities. Like I said, I'm surprised that I don't see more kids playing baseball because I love this so much. But then again, I will always look around during my games of strike 'em out, and I will see at least 40 to 50 of African American boys playing basketball or on the side doing some type of football drills. And another thing is why baseball is why some African Americans consider baseball a white man's sport is because if you go to the game, you'll see way more white people at the games than you'll see any other race, and that can discourage or make an African American kid feel out of place because he don't see more of his own race at the games. So our third factor that contributes to the decline in African Americans' participation in baseball is the fact that baseball is very expensive. Baseball is very expensive. As you can see in the picture, all the items that a baseball player needs, items such as the helmet, the batting gloves, the actual catching gloves, the catcher's mask, baseball pants, baseball bat, balls, the catcher's chest protector, the catcher's knee pads, the catcher's gloves, cleats, and baseball bags. All those things could be very expensive, especially for a single parent or a low-income family where they're not working or they're not making as much money. Along with the cost of equipment, the cost to participate is also very high. The cost to participate in Chicago, any like the cost to participate in certain Little League organizations here can range from around $150 a kid to around $200 a kid, depending on the organization. That doesn't even include insurance, umpires, snacks for the league, or things like that. So when it's all said and done, you could be out of $350 before you know it. Okay, now that you have paid for the equipment and paid to participate in the league, you now have to pay to be seen by elite teams or college coaches or pro scouts. Those are called showcases. Showcases could also be very expensive. Showcases are events where coaches or college scouts, they sit down and they watch you showcase your skills. You get to throw, hit, field, do things like that to, possibly get a scholarship or get nominated to play on, a travel or elite team. Those showcases can come at a pretty penny. Most showcases could be between $200 and $450. And once again, some of the African American families don't have the finances to put their kids in programs where expenses could be so high. The fourth factor, which is a factor that really hits close to home with me, is African Americans have a low tolerance for failure. I remember when I first started playing baseball, and I was having trouble catching the ball. Baseball was a new thing to me. I started pretty late at 12 years old, but I learned fast. But I did struggle at the early beginning, and it took me about 2 to 3 months to really get the hang of the catching. And I was becoming discouraged, and I really wanted to quit. But my teammates motivated me, and I stuck with it. And during my interview with a former player named Tashawn Porter, he told me he quit baseball because he didn't think he would do well and because basketball was an easier sport to learn. I told Tashawn, man, you should never quit playing, a sport because you don't think you would do well. Just try it and continue to try it and work hard at it. And, I told him that baseball players fail 70% of the time and they're still considered great players. They even go into the Hall of Fame for failing 70% of the time. Indeed, baseball is considered the hardest sport to play, and which is the reason why a lot of African Americans choose basketball and football. So Tashawn felt he could perform better and, show off in front of his parents. Our last factor is a factor that is thought about the most from African Americans, current players and former players, is, baseball scholarships. Full scholarships are very hard to get. As you can see on the chart of college sports, baseball is only awarded around 12 scholarships a year, which has to be split between 25 and 30 players. Football has 85 And basketball has 13 scholarships, which has to be split between 15 players. So one would find it easier to get a full scholarship in basketball or football, and which is why a lot of African Americans, choose those sports over baseball. And also some baseball players may not be doing so well in school, but they could be excellent baseball players on the field. And some coaches, they really can't overlook your grades because you need good grades to be eligible to play baseball. So they probably will withhold from giving you a scholarship because of your grades. Schools, and some of the schools in African American communities are very mediocre, and some of the environments that a lot of our African American athletes live in are terrible, are filled with violence, and that's just a list of downfalls that African Americans have to deal with. The terrible schools, the limited resources, and just the overall abandonment of certain support that they just get discouraged from playing baseball. As mentioned, I did a small survey of my former players, current players, and even some adults. And in this survey, I asked former players, why did they stop? I asked former players, why don't they participate in baseball? And out of 20, 12 said because baseball is boring. 6 said because basketball is better, or they love basketball or football better. And 2 said baseball is a hard sport to play. I then went on to survey former players and asked them why they don't play baseball anymore. And out of 20, 9 said baseball was boring or wasn't fun anymore. 6 said wasn't good at it. 3 said better opportunities in another sport, so they chose another basketball or football, possibly. And 2 of my participants said their parents made them stop. Now, parents making them stop can be due to anything, including having to travel too far, or they didn't like the team, they didn't like the environment, or sometimes even if the kid had bad grades, they just took them off as punishment. The last survey I did was of adults who played baseball before, and I asked them why they don't see more of blacks participating in baseball. And out of 20, 15 said kids like basketball more. 3 said the cost of participating in baseball was too high. And 2 of the participants said African American kids don't really find baseball interesting. Future issues and concerns. I honestly think league officials should create the same state-of-the-art facilities here in the U.S. Overseas, there's a lot of state-of-the-art facilities in the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, and we don't have those here, especially in the inner city of Chicago or like the inner city of Detroit or places like that where mainly African Americans are. Most of the time, if certain facilities, we have to go outside of our boundaries just to get some type of baseball instruction. League officials should also make baseball more affordable. We need to reach out to some of these organizations and try to come up with a plan to reduce the fees, not just for African Americans, but for more, just reduce the fees for all kids as a whole. Find a way to appeal to the younger audience, which is make, like Darwin said, make the game more exciting. Come up with some type of incentive to get blacks participating more. That can include, making the game more exciting and appeal to the younger audience of African Americans. Okay, today we discussed the 5 major factors based on survey that contribute to the decline in participation amongst African American athletes. Those 5 were: baseball was considered boring. Baseball was considered a white person sport. And baseball is expensive. 4th, baseball players have a low tolerance for failure. And 5th, baseball scholarships are hard to get. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and hope this presentation was helpful to you or any aspiring coaches. And thanks again.